that
Sure.
Steve asked, but he asked about the concern at the White House about these strikes and the potential impact on the economy.
Yeah.
Is there a worry right now, as we're seeing this happening in different parts of the country, different industries, that this could have a significant impact?
I have not heard that expressed by our economic team at this point. I'm happy to check with them and see if that's a concern they have.
And on the timing of negotiations, we're talking about the patience issue. The White House announced the president's trip to Europe at the end of this month. Nancy Pelosi has set an October 31st deadline to get the infrastructure package passed. Does the president expect that negotiations will be completed by the time he leaves for that trip at the end of the month?
I'm not going to set new timelines here. I will reiterate that we don't feel that the time is unending, and we feel it's time to move forward with negotiations, move to a place where we have a unified package, but I'm not going to set a new timeline today.
Can the president leave for that trip if negotiations are still going on Capitol Hill and at the White House?
Again, I'm not going to set a new timeline today. Obviously, we want to move this forward as quickly as possible. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jen. And following up on the questions about January 6th, I know you've spoken to the decision by the White House Counsel's office to tell the archives, hand over those documents. Has there been any concern or conversation about what might happen one day when the shoe's on the other foot, and if another administration of the other party comes in and says there's an extraordinary circumstance and they want to hand over documents that were deemed privileged by the Biden administration?
I can assure you, Ed, that this president has no intention to lead an insurrection on our nation's capital.
I anticipated that would be your answer, almost word for word.
Oh, good.
But you can understand that you're opening potentially a Pandora's box here.
Actually,
by setting
we
this
don't see it that
precedent.
way. I understand why you're asking this question. We
Yeah.
talked about this a little bit last week as well. I think it is ultimately important for people to understand and remember that January 6th was an incredibly dark day, one of the darkest days in our democracy. There was an insurrection on our nation's capital. What we're talking about here is getting to the bottom of that. Shouldn't everybody want to get to the bottom of that? Democrats, Republicans, people who have no political affiliation whatsoever. I will reiterate that we're going to assess and review, as is standard in the process, the documents and any efforts to exert executive privilege on a case-by-case basis. And we'll provide you updates on those as those processes proceed. And we will continue, as it relates to executive privilege for other issues, to evaluate that on a case-by-case basis, as every White House has in the past. But I think if you look back at past presidents, Democratic and Republican, there isn't really a precedent for what we're talking about with this select committee and what they're trying to get to the bottom of. And the uniqueness of that, I think, is important context.
On the issue of negotiating with